someone's perception is their reality. It doesn't, if you think you're being fair and you think you're doing this, but your team or other people around you don't think that, their perception is their reality, and that's the reality that you have to deal with. The 5149 rule, there's an old general that is quoted as saying a good plan executed violently now is better than a perfect plan next week. And so what I would say is, as a manager, anybody read Hamlet? Let's go totally the other direction from war. Anybody ever read Hamlet? Anybody know Hamlet's tragic flaw?
Indecision.
Give it up for the world's greatest photographer, Benji. He's not even, not even part of the program, and he's answering the questions. It's amazing. So let's say that we, as managers, we look at all the information and we make a decision. We make a decision that we're going to, we have an office in Tokyo. It's not that much more money, time, and effort to open an office in Osaka, except for the real estate team. Sorry about that. We're going to open an office in Osaka because we think there's life sciences companies there, and we think that's a huge opportunity for Japan. And once you make that decision, you go 100% that, or my advice to you as a manager is once you make that decision, until you get new information or change your decision, you go 100% that way. And that's the 5149 rule. Even though you might think about, okay, whether should we do this or not when you're in a group with your peers and you're trying to figure out whether you should do it. Once you make that decision, that's 51% we're going to do it, we're 100% going to do it. We're going to open that office until new information presents itself. Yes, and then if we're 2 years into Osaka and we haven't sold anything and it's a bad decision, then we change our mind and we go 100% the other way. This is probably the most important slide here, which is, let me pick on Alex again. Alex, I don't really want you to have to make all these phone calls, but Kevin says we have to do it. So can you please, make 50 phone calls just so I can tell him that we did it? Please?
I guess so, but if you don't even think I should do it, why should I do it? Right.
So you've probably heard the phrase like being a buddy instead of a boss. Okay? I just did that. That's a ridiculous example, but to illustrate a very serious point, which is as the boss, you cannot put yourself, if I'm the manager between Kevin and Alex, I cannot put myself on the other side of the decision. Right? You will cost yourself incredible respect points. If you convey something like that, like, oh, I don't really want us to be doing this, but it's my boss's fault, but it's the client's fault, but it's somebody else's fault, like, you are going to cost yourself 1 million respect points that are going to be very hard to win back. All right? My message to Alex is going to be, Alex, we're going to sit and do these calls because it's really important that we grow the business and we've got to have initial contacts, and we know that for every 50 calls we get 2 meetings or whatever it is, and I'm going to sit here and do them with you if necessary, and I want you to do it, Alex, because it's important to me. Right?
Let's do it.
Right. So do not resist the temptation to blame someone else. Like I say this all the time. If someone's mad about a bad decision or whatever, I dragged you to a conference on a weekend and you want to point some arrows at somebody, point them at me, right? Don't, it's not the client's fault, it's not somebody else's fault, all right? And this is 100% of the time true internally, because you can't separate yourself from it. If you do that, what are you then doing or saying? You're just becoming a cog in the wheel. Oh, I'm just relaying information. I don't really have any, I don't really have any role here, right? So don't put yourself on the other side of the decision. If you don't agree with the policy, go find out the why. You don't even have to agree, but then you can relate the why. You can at least tell people the why. Like if you don't agree with a policy and you're commiserating with people underneath you in the organization about the policy, you're basically highlighting how unpowerful you are and how you can't affect change. And what I would say to you is, why talk about it with that person? Because they can't fix it if they're underneath you. You need to take that, and this is the don't be silent part. We're not looking for yes people. If there's a problem and it's a real problem and you feel passionately about it, take it to your manager, right? And your manager may be able to deal with it, and they may make a meeting with their manager, right? So don't be silent about problems, but complain up the ladder, because if you complain down the ladder, you're making yourself a cog in the wheel. Okay, we talked about this one, but perception is reality. That's a really important point. Like, someone's perception is their reality. It doesn't, if you think you're being fair and you think you're doing this, but your team or other people around you don't think that, their perception is their reality, and that's the reality that you have to deal with. So Fair is in the eye of the beholder. I've been doing this job for a really long time, and I've seen people do crazy things, quit with no notice, and steal stuff out of the supply closet. Ridiculous things. But somehow in that person's mind, they were justified in doing whatever they did because they felt treated unfairly, right? Everybody's the hero in their own story. Nobody's the bad guy in their own story. So, if people feel like they've been treated unfairly by their manager, by you guys, they can justify almost any behavior. And fairness is in the eye of the beholder. You've heard of the term sweep something under the rug. If you have an organization where your people are trying to fix something and hide it from you rather than tell you about it, then you need to think about how you're managing it, right? You want the bad news to travel fast. Good news travels on its own. Like Roy just said, we're going to send out an everyone email saying, we just closed this deal. We just did this great thing for this client. We just opened a new office here. The good news travels. When you're thinking about your own organization, it could be just you or it could be you and just one or two other people on your team, but you want to have an organization in which bad news travels fast. Broken window theory, we talked about this. So I actually mentioned this in an earlier presentation. What this is I forget the two guys, the academics that first had the theory, but they put it to place in New York when New York had Mayor Giuliani, which was, we're going to stop murders in the city by making sure there's no graffiti on the subway. Meaning, like, if you stop the small problems, if you miss markup on a $150 job and I get an email about it, if you fix the small problems, the large problems take care of themselves. So that's an attitude we try to have at Trends Perfect. If you take care of all the small problems, if you're really diligent about no problem being too small, then somehow the large problems seem to take care of themselves.